Have you noticed how most people are at the mercy of a news cycle, a traffic jam, or a stranger's passing comment? They live as prisoners to a world they cannot influence, twitching every time a notification pings or a politician speaks across the globe. They are in a state of constant internal friction, fighting battles against ghosts and shadows. They suffer from a modern sickness, the belief that their happiness is a hostage held by external circumstances. They wake up and immediately scan the horizon for something to be worried about, something to be offended by, or something to fix in the outside world, all while their own internal house is burning down. You'll want to hear number 4, so be sure to watch to the end, as it provides the ultimate historical blueprint for this entire philosophy. But first, we must understand the fundamental architecture of why we feel so out of control. To understand detachment, we must first look at the status quo of the human condition. Most people function as emotional puppets. Imagine a marionette on a stage, suspended by 1,000 invisible threads. One string is pulled by the economy, another is pulled by a partner's fluctuating mood, a third is yanked by the weather or a social media algorithm. Every time the world pulls a string, the puppet twitches in a predictable reaction. They feel good only if the world is behaving, and they feel devastated the moment it doesn't. This is a life of constant anxiety because their peace depends on variables they can never truly own. The puppet is tethered to the transitory. They are trying to fix the world to find peace, but the world is a chaotic, swirling vortex of change that has no interest in their comfort. The rare way, the way of the Stoic, is the path of the sovereign mind. The sovereign mind recognizes that there is a border, a sharp, unshakable line between what belongs to the world and what belongs to the self. They cut the strings. They recognize that internal stillness is the only territory they actually own. Most people try to fix the world and lose their mind. The sovereign mind fixes their mind and masters the world. You must ask yourself, are you the master of your internal state, or are you waiting for the world to give you permission to be okay? If your mood is dictated by things you cannot control, you aren't a person. You are a reaction, a hollow echo of external noise. We've been told that letting go is weakness, that it is the equivalent of being a doormat, or being lazy, or simply giving up on life. This is a fundamental misunderstanding. Detachment is the ultimate offensive strategy. It is what we might call surrender as siege. In a traditional siege, where a wise general stops throwing his soldiers at the impenetrable walls of the enemy fortress, instead, he stops the leakage of his own resources and waits. When you stop resisting what you cannot change, you stop leaking energy. Every time you get angry at a flight delay, or depressed because someone didn't text you back, or stressed about an upcoming election, you are pouring your life force into a black hole. You are bleeding out. Detachment is about precision. It is the unshakable refusal to let the external world dictate your internal state. You aren't giving up. You are conserving your fire for the battles you can actually win. Inaction regarding the uncontrollable isn't laziness. It's a strategic conservation of your soul. You are withdrawing your troops from the border of the world and placing them inside the fortress of your mind. By surrendering the illusion of control, you gain the reality of power. The world cannot hurt a man who has no attachment to how the world should behave. When you stop being a victim of the transitory, you become a master of the eternal. Let's look at this from a deeper, more personal level. Why do we care so much? Why is it so hard to detach from the opinions of others or the fear of failure? At the surface level, we say, I want to stop worrying about what people think so I can feel better. But the Stoic goes deeper. The emotional logic bridge is this. You must detach from the opinions of others because your self-worth is too sacred to be audited by people who don't even know themselves. Think about that deeply. You are allowing your value, your very essence, to be judged and quantified by people who are often confused, biased, and suffering from their own internal chaos. Why would you allow a stranger to audit your soul? Why would you let the transitory whims of a crowd determine your equilibrium? Your worth is an internal constant. Their opinions are mere decay. When you are tethered to the approval of others, you are building your house on shifting sand, waiting for the tide to wash your identity away. The sovereign mind realizes that the only audit that matters is the one performed by their own conscience. If you are acting with virtue and integrity, The noise of the world is irrelevant. It is like the barking of dogs at a passing caravan. It may be loud, it may be persistent, but it does not change the destination or the value of the cargo. You are the architect of your own fortress. Do not hand the blueprints to people who have no interest in your safety. This brings us to our fourth point, the authority anchor and the historical foundation of everything we are discussing. This is the part that many people find unexpected. The most powerful lesson in freedom comes from a man who was born into literal chains. Epictetus, the patron saint of Stoic resilience, was not a philosopher sitting in an ivory tower. He was a slave in the Roman Empire. He was a man who owned nothing, not even his own body, which was crippled by a cruel master. Yet Epictetus was more free than the emperors who ruled over him. Why? Because he discovered the law. He called it the dichotomy of control. Epictetus taught that happiness and freedom begin with a clear understanding of one principle. Some things are within our control and some things are not. This is the authority anchor. It is a law of nature as certain as gravity. You cannot command the rain, but you can command your umbrella. You cannot command the opinions of the masses, but you can command your own judgment. When you obsess over the out-of-control category, you are literally choosing to be a slave. You are tethering your essence to things that are destined for decay. As Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, wrote in his private journals, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This isn't a suggestion for a better life. It is a law of survival. You must ruthlessly categorize every event into one of these two buckets. If it is outside your control, it must be met with a dispassionate indifference. This isn't coldness, it is the ultimate form of sanity. If you cannot change the outcome, why would you sacrifice your peace to it? To do so is to volunteer for your own suffering. Finally, we must understand the difference between the transitory and the eternal. Everything outside of your character is in a state of decay. Your reputation, your wealth, your physical health, and even the people you love. These are all borrowed from the universe. They are transitory. If you attach your identity to these things, you will suffer when they inevitably fade or change. Instead, you must anchor yourself in your essence, your ability to choose your response. This is the only thing that cannot be taken from you, even in a prison cell or in the face of death. The fragile reactor wakes up and immediately checks the world. What is the world doing to me today? The sovereign mind wakes up and checks their mind. How will I govern myself today, regardless of what the world does? When a crisis hits, the reactor asks, "Why is this happening to me?" And they fall into pieces. The sovereign mind asks, "What does this situation require of me?" And they find their equilibrium. This isn't about being heartless, it's about sovereignty. It's the peace of knowing that while the world around you may fade or burn, your internal fortress remains anchored. You save your energy not for the chaos of the world, but for the virtue of your own life. Stop auditing the world. It is a business you do not own and a project you cannot finish. Start governing yourself. The world doesn't need your reaction, it needs your stillness. Remember the binary. You are either the puppet or the sovereign. There is no middle ground. Every moment of your life, you are either being pulled by a string or you are cutting it. Choose to cut the strings. Choose to be the master of the only territory that truly matters, the space within. Build your fortress, protect your essence. Stay unshakable. Stop auditing the world and start governing yourself. The world doesn't need your reaction, it needs your presence. Govern yourself, or the world will govern you.